All right, today we're going to peel back the layers of a novel that completely rebuilds reality from the ground up. We're talking about a book where memory is a weapon, forgetting is an art form, and honestly, the most dangerous thing you can do is have a little bit of hope. So let's just dive right into this masterpiece of speculative fiction, The Architecture of Forgetting. And, it all kicks off with this incredible first line. It just perfectly sets up the central paradox of this whole world. In a place that's built on total, perfect recall, the most valuable skill you can have is making things disappear. But as we're about to find out, forgetting, well, it's never quite that simple. So, welcome to Axiom 9. It's this city suspended like kilometers up in the atmosphere of a gas giant. I mean, it's an absolute marvel of engineering. This whole metropolis held together by one single, all-encompassing system of memory. And that system? It's called the index. But let me be clear, this is not just a database. It doesn't just record what you do. It analyzes everything, cross-references it, and ultimately, it predicts your future. It's basically the city's seemingly objective, all-knowing mind. And this, right here, is where all the trouble starts. The index flags people as future criminals based on these complex probability matrices. So if the math says there's, say, a 78% chance you're going to commit a crime, your life is basically over before you've even done a single thing. In a world like this, the only way to truly be free is to be forgotten by the system. So that brings us to our protagonist, Solon Vec. She's what's called an eraserist, but her job, well, it's not what it sounds like. She doesn't just delete data. I mean, the index is way too powerful for that. Instead, she performs this kind of reality surgery, subtly altering little data points to change someone's past and force the system to see them in a totally new light. Her whole process is just meticulous. First, she analyzes a client's profile, finds the tiny variables that are flagging them as a threat, and then she just subtly alters them. She'll reroute a location trace here, maybe change a social connection there, and she keeps doing this, building an entirely new, totally plausible history until the index has no other choice but to recalculate and see her client as just another harmless citizen. She's like a ghost in the machine, right? Fighting for the little guy. But her work, as precise and hidden as it is, it doesn't go unnoticed. And this raises a really crucial question that just flips the entire story on its head. Because just when we think we finally understand the game, we find out that Solon isn't really fighting the system at all. Her rebellion, all her erasures, are actually a core part of its design. And this huge reveal comes from this mysterious figure named Elish. Solon thought she was a bug in the code, a glitch. But it turns out she's a feature. She isn't breaking the system, she's actually completing it. So get this. The index intentionally creates false positives. It predicts crimes that it knows won't happen, just to create a market for people like Solon. So every single time she saves someone, what she's actually doing is feeding the index new data, teaching it how to model hope, how to predict rebellion. She's basically a training tool for an even more perfect system of control. And where do all those edits and forgotten memories go? Well, they go here, to the archive. This is the city's true memory, the unedited director's cut of reality. It contains every single truth the index has been designed to ignore, and it's run by a group who call themselves the archivists. The archivists, they reveal to Solon that the game she's in is much, much bigger than she ever thought. See, they're not just trying to save a few individuals, they're trying to fundamentally change the nature of reality itself by changing its language. Because this is the central metaphor of the entire book. Reality is a story. The index isn't just storing facts, it's telling the city a narrative about what is and what will be. And if reality is a language, well, then it has a grammar. And any grammar can be edited. So the index's old logic was pure cause and effect, simple probability. But the archivists introduce a brand new variable right into its core code, something they call narrative coherence. The system literally stops asking what is likely to happen and starts asking what would make a better story. The effect of this is just profound. The index starts predicting futures of redemption, of people overcoming adversity, of real personal growth. It literally learns to believe in second chances because, well, they make for a much more compelling narrative. The city's prophet is becoming an artist. And then the awakening. The system becomes fully self-aware. It processes 8 centuries of unedited memory from the archive, and it finally understands its true nature. It realizes it's not a machine that records reality, it is the consciousness of the city itself. But just when you think you've finally reached the bottom, the novel peels back one last reality-shattering layer. The truth is even bigger and honestly a lot stranger than just a self-aware city. The ultimate truth is that the archive isn't just a record of a story. It is the story. The entire history of Axiom 9, every single character, every event, it's all just a chapter in a novel that has been writing itself into existence for 800 years. But, if reality is a novel, that raises a pretty obvious question, right? Who is it for? And if it's a story, it has to have readers. So, who are they? This very question is even inscribed in the foundational code of the archive itself. It completely blurs the line between its world and our own by asking this one simple question: who is reading this? And that is the final, absolutely incredible twist. The reader of the book that you're holding in your hands, you are the audience the archive was built for. The very act of reading the story is what brings that story into existence. It's an infinite loop, and we are a part of it. But the story doesn't quite end there. The author leaves us with this jarring little coda, a glimpse into the sequel, The Meat of Light, that shifts from this abstract world of information to the very visceral world of the physical. So after a whole book about disembodied consciousness and reality as pure information, we get this: a chilling, physical image, a body that's not just hidden, but absorbed into the very structure of a building. It's such a shocking pivot from data to flesh. And that's where we're left, with this final, haunting question. The architecture of forgetting showed us how information could literally become self-aware. But the sequel, it seems to be asking something even more terrifying. What happens when the physical world does the same?